Sports Card Strategy Show. Paul Hickey with nooffseason.com. And I have my main man, Chad Guell, in the house with me today. No Lefty McKee. Lefty McKee has a previous commitment that he has to attend to at this very date and time. So we're going to excuse him for the day. We miss you, Lefty, but welcome, Mr. Chad Guell. How you doing? Doctor, the sports card doctor, Chad Guell.
Doing great, thanks.
Good to have you, man. It's going to be Chad and I bringing it strong on Sports Card Strategy Show, episode 83. Good morning to Ryan Borusky. Changed his, it used to be Mr. Ryan Borusky. Now it's just Ryan Borusky. Looking good in the profile pic, though, Borusky. Good to see you, my man. Cleo Cards. Cleo Cards is a new name in the chat. We love loyal audience members and new names in the chat. Good to see you. Brian Steeler 714. Good morning to you as well. Rocky Empire Sports Cards has been a regular recently. We love you. Love it, Rocky. And Evan Bell, another recent regular. Evan Bell and I are also in discussions about content at nooffseason.com. And this good morning, fellas, from a Facebook user. I wonder if that's Lefty in the middle of his work meeting. I'm not sure who that is. We could check on who that is, but Facebook blocks us. Southern Soccer Idiot in the house. Leslie Alegria. That's Shoes' better half. She says, good morning, Shoes is driving. So Shoes is here. Leslie, good morning to you. So Chad Guell in the house, loyal audience member turned analyst, bringing it strong at nooffseason.com. We've got a lot to talk about with Chad today. But first, let's talk about Graybo's Sports Cards. It's a local hobby shop in Richmond, Virginia, owned by Gray Burnett, Ryan Fitz, and Duke Denny One-Time Dodson. Duke was a co-host on our show last week. He joins us once a month. Located in the Arts District in Richmond, Virginia, Graybo's sports the best selection of raw and graded singles in the Mid-Atlantic and a wide variety of wax. Listeners of the Sports Card Strategy Show can receive a 10% discount on any purchase at graybos.co by entering the code STRATEGY2023. Graybos will begin breaking 7 days a week on one of the major platforms in June, so stay tuned for that big news. You can follow all of Graybos news and updates on Instagram at graybos_cards. Again, get 10% off at graybos.co by using the promo code STRATEGY2023. And Chad, let's talk about the fact that you and I, real quick, we both ordered a couple of hobby boxes from Duke Dodson and the crew. Duke's in the chat. Yo, yo, yo. What's up, Duke? We both ordered a couple hobby boxes of that Bowman Inception with Caitlin Clark and Wembanyama in it. And, I'm looking forward to my boxes coming, but thanks again to the guys at Graybos for hooking us up with that.
Yeah, we actually, from our comments, Lefty messaged me. He got 2 boxes as well.
Nice. So all 3 of the co-hosts on the Sports Card Strategy Show got 2 boxes. And Keith Riordan. Keith is my man. He's been a loyal subscriber to nooffseason.com for quite some time now. We love you, Keith. He's in the chat from Facebook. Good to see you. Cleo Card's been listening on Spotify, first time on YouTube. That's awesome. That's awesome. Our audience is growing actually massively on Spotify. So shout out to the Spotify audience. Definitely get involved however you can. We appreciate your involvement in Spotify. And if you're able to come over like Cleo Cards is doing in the chat on YouTube, that's great. If not, don't worry. Just keep listening. If you want to get on the show, email me at paul@nooffseason.com and we'll get to your question. So, all right. So quick reminder before we get to Chad, you can get unlimited personalized advice now at nooffseason.com. That is part of the new and improved Sports Card Investment Report Premium Package. To build your sports card investment portfolio, get a free 30-day trial now at nooffseason.com. All right, Chad. So let's jump right into your L of the week, man. What do you got for your L of the week? I'm excited to hear what you have prepared for us today.
My L of the week was some guy on eBay that completely wrecked my weekend. So on Friday night, I stay up until 1 a.m. sniping because that's what I do, right? And I found a 10 card lot of Jalen Hurts select concourse silvers. So it was half of what I needed to do the play that I had written about, right?
Yep.
And there's nobody on this lot at all. And I'm thinking, I'm going to get this for pennies on the dollar. I was prepared to pay $200 because it would have knocked out, 10 cards out of what I was trying to get. So I snipe in $203.50, some goofy number, just because that's what you do, right? And I'm waiting and I'm waiting, and 1 second left. I hit it. Bam. I get it for $18. And I'm thinking, unbelievable. This is why you stay up till 1 a.m., right?
Yeah.
I pay for it immediately. I'm so stoked. I go to Chicago for my kids' basketball tournament. And last night, as I'm just before bed, I get an email stating that my $18 has been refunded. Cards are unavailable. The guy decided, because it went so cheap, he must have decided, I'm not going to do this. I'll take the bad eBay rating. And he pulls the listing and says that the cards were unavailable. I was bummed.
Boo. That is horrible. I can't stand when people do that. So what can we do, eBay? What can we do to prevent this? Does this happen often, Chad? I've had this happen maybe once or twice in a couple of years. Doesn't happen too often, right?
It doesn't happen very often, but when it does, so I sent the guy a message and I said to him, listen, I really need these 10 cards. I get that it went way too cheap. I bid $203. I can't help that nobody else is up at 1 a.m. in the morning. I said, if there's a way to do this, I'll do it through eBay. I'll do it offline. I'll pay you the $203 that I bid.
Yeah.
I really want those 10 cards. It just saves me a lot of time of buying onesies, And I never got a response. I don't know. Maybe I'll get one today because it was late last night, but I didn't get a response, and I'll wait to see if he relists it and bid on them again. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, this could be a future W of the week. I think sometimes L's can turn into W's, so hopefully that'll be the case. Sounds like you're doing all you can to turn it around. And but yeah, this stuff happens. It doesn't happen often, but it does suck. And like I actually, I'll admit, like, full transparency, I mean, as I was learning about being an eBay seller and sort of the right, like the do's and don'ts and sort of the moral values of being a good eBay seller and whatnot, a couple of years ago, I sold a Steph Curry rookie for like $100 less than comps. And I was pretty upset about it. I wasn't like that upset about it, but I was just kind of bummed because I was like, I didn't want to keep taking L's. I wanted like at least a break even kind of a thing. And I'm sure a lot of us in the hobby have taken a lot of L's over the last couple of years. And this was just one of those times where I just couldn't sell anything for a profit. So I took another L on this Steph Curry, and I kind of did this. I kind of was doing the same thing where I was like, but I didn't cancel it right away. I like messaged the guy, I think, and I was like, hey, look, sorry about this, but I'm just like not going to sell it for this, one of those things. And then he was nice enough to kind of go back and forth with me. And throughout the exchange, I kind of learned, like when you list something for sale and it doesn't go for what you think, or when you list something in an auction and it doesn't end up selling for what you think it should, it's sort of like the market has spoken. Maybe you messed up by listing it at the wrong time, or maybe you messed up with like how you listed it or whatever. Regardless of all of that, the market has spoken. That's what your card sold for. You got, like, the person bought it. You got to sell it to them. And so we ended up making the transaction, and I ended up feeling way better about myself than if I would have kept the card and tried to get like the extra $100. To me, it ultimately was like, I'm not in it for trying to scrape every penny away from everybody anyway. So it's like, sell the card, take your L, move on. I feel like that's what this guy should have done. Because it does come back around, right? Like you're a good guy. There's a lot of great people out there in the hobby. And I think if you end up doing the right thing, it does come back around to you. So hopefully this guy will do the right thing, even though, he didn't sell for what he wanted it to sell for. And yeah, it's like SSI's in the comments saying, who lists an auction to end at 1 a.m.? That's a bonehead move. Anyway, Laser 2711 in the house. Finally made it for a live. Good to see you. Pumped about these new people in the chat. Loyal audience members making it in for the live. But anyway, Chad, I think this could turn itself around. You got to keep us updated.
Yeah, I think the guy he didn't have a ton of feedback rating. And when I look, one of the things I didn't show in the show and tell is I look for people that make mistakes on eBay like this. Listing at 1 a.m. is clearly a mistake. The other mistake he made was he had his first picture, instead of showing 10 cards, it showed 1 card.
Yeah.
I just happened to be looking for those. So when I looked, and his last picture out of 12 pictures was a picture of all 10 of them laying together. The first picture looked like a base card, and he had the light just right so you could see the silver refracting on all 10 of the last picture. That should have been the first picture. He didn't have that there were 10 of them listed anywhere in the listing except in the description down below. So my guess is he was probably just learning how to do eBay, and he started out on the wrong foot, which is why I reached out to him. But yeah, I sure hope he responds and I can get this deal done. I'd love to get those cards.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, like, hopefully he'll get his $200 or his $215 from me, because that would be a win-win. That would turn this into a win of the week for both of you guys, because that's obviously like more of a fair price for his cards, and that's what you're willing to pay anyway. So, but kudos to you for the research that you do, and everyone who's not familiar with the sports card doctor Chad Guell. He got that nickname being on this show, by the way. Chad submitted a phenomenal sports card strategy show and tell last week, so go back and watch or listen to that episode, sports card strategy show and tell from last week. It would have been last Thursday. And Chad showed us all how he snipes his auctions. And so what he's referring to essentially is a result from his sports card strategy show and tell of sniping auctions, and also his Jalen Hurts. He wrote a phenomenal article at nooffseason.com, how to make thousands of dollars buying Jalen Hurts cards now. And Chad broke down probably about 12 different Jalen Hurts cards that you can buy now and make a play on them to sell them when the football season starts, essentially for a profit. It does involve grading, so you got to read that now. And if you want to get in on that, go to nooffseason.com, check out that article. There's a couple different ways to get it. You can get your free 30-day trial as a premium member, or you can just buy the article itself, the download of the article itself. So speaking of the sports card strategy show and tell, Rocky Empire Sports Cards is saying in the chat that they are going to submit sports card strategy show and tell submission for this week. Please do, Rocky Empire, and all of you in the audience, please do as well. Just email me at paul@nooffseason.com to get on the show. I'll walk you through how to submit something for the sports card strategy show and tell. And for those of you who haven't submitted anything in a while, it's time. It's time to get that submission in. So we'd love to see you.
Can I chime in here, Paul?
Absolutely.
For everybody listening and watching, I'm a fairly techie guy, but for 3 years now, I've been thinking, how in the world can I start my own show? And I started watching Paul, and we started communicating, and that's how I ended up on this show. But I am not good when it comes to doing videos. I'm learning as I go here. It is so easy to take your phone and show cards. If I can do it, any one of our listeners can do it. It's not, you start somewhere, grab the phone and hold up some cards, and each one will get better and better as you do it, because you learn and you're like, oh geez, I could have done this, I could have done that. But the way you start is to take step one, just do it.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like, the sports card strategy show and the sports card strategy show and tell are both sort of tailor-made for exactly what you're talking about. There's a lot of you out there that are creating content in the hobby, and I love that, and I want to encourage that. And sometimes we all don't have a whole lot of time to get our content out there the way that we want it to be. And I think sports card strategy show and tell is meant for you guys to just go ahead and submit a quick video. I do the post-production of it. I'll kind of help you make it look as good as I can based on your submission for the show. And then I just kind of curate everyone else's submissions. And I think it's a lot of fun. So hopefully you guys will participate. I think it's a good way to also promote your sports card business. So we're building a platform here at the Sports Card Strategy Show and nooffseason.com. Our numbers are growing, but it's really about you, the community. It's your show. So the Sports Card Strategy Show and Tell, which goes live every Thursday. This is the main show, which goes live every Monday. The Show and Tell goes live every Thursday. Just gives kind of unlimited opportunities for you all, the audience, to get involved. So yeah, and I think like back to Chad's L of the week, like that was really good advice in terms of how to again look for deals on sports cards. If you caught that, Chad dropped some knowledge in his L of the week, very valuable for the audience there. So really pumped to have Chad on the show. It's a bummer to not have Lefty, but Lefty will be back next week, and it's awesome to have Chad. Just adding extra value to the audience as another co-host. And by the way, I'm going to be off next week. I'm going to be spending Memorial Day on a daddy-daughter trip with my daughter. So Chad and Lefty will be your hosts next week. And then the following week, we'll be back 100% full strength. But I know Chad is going to talk about this as well. But my L of the week, as awesome as the 2023 Topps Bowman Inception University set is, with Victor Wembanyama, Caitlin Clark, and a bunch of other prospects, it sucks. It seems like Wembanyama's, all of his autos are redemptions. Slab Stocks reported on this. Chad texted me a lot over the weekend about it. And so I'm using this info as my L of the week. I did a little research on eBay just to verify, but it seems like pretty much every sale and every auction and listing right now for a Wembanyama auto. The good news is they're licensed. It's going to have him in his Metropolitans 92 uniform, all that stuff, but it's redemptions. Chad, what's up with this? This is an L, right?
Yeah, I didn't use it. I was going to do that as my L, and I didn't want to rain on the Inception parade.
Yeah.
Because my win of the week is also an Inception related card thing. But yeah, it's a bummer. I was messaging you and Lefty, like, how in the world they promoted the product with a picture of Wembanyama and showing him the card where this is like my first card ever signed, so they have at least one card in the product that's signed, unless they do that as a redemption too. Caleb Williams autos are also redemption. There's two redemptions. There are two redemptions in the whole product, and it's Caleb Williams and Victor Wembanyama. I think that this hurts the long-term holding value of the boxes. And I said to Lefty, when I get them, I might just say screw it and rip them and see if I can get lucky with a redemption at this point. Because my point, what I wanted to do with those two boxes was to hold them for 6 months or so, or maybe a year, and see if they could double in price. And then I'd sell one and rip one, or sell them both, or whatever. And now that they are redemptions, which have, redemption dates, if you don't, 4, 5, 6, 7 years from now, you go to rip one of them things and you get a redemption. What do you got? A piece of cardboard.
Yeah.
It really hurts the value of that box. That was a major bummer to me.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, because you and I were texting about buying a couple of those boxes and then holding them, and I was kind of excited for that as well. But yeah, I'm thinking the same thing now. As soon as you texted me that they were redemptions, I immediately thought, well, probably got to rip them now, because if you do get lucky and get not that I would be sad if I pull a Wembanyama redemption, that would be amazing. I would probably list it for sale right away.
For sure.
I think that would be the play, right? So for all of you out there that are wondering sort of what to do about this situation, there's still opportunities. If you're buying boxes and you happen to be fortunate enough to pull a Wembanyama redemption, list it. I think you're risking big time losses if you were to try to redeem it, because who knows what you're going to get. I mean, Topps is probably not going to give you anything other than a Wembanyama auto, but you don't know when you're going to get it. You don't know what the price, what the hype is going to be like. He could be we hope he doesn't get injured. We hope he's an amazing player for years to come, but I mean, he could underwhelm. He could get injured, like just like everybody else out there. I mean, there's risk involved with everybody. So I think that that's the play. It's like, if you were buying to hold the box, yeah, you could hold for the Caitlin Clark, but you got to remember, like, the reason you were buying to hold the box was because of the Wembanyama. And so because that's a redemption, that changes it. Now, doesn't mean you shouldn't go to Graybos.co and buy the boxes using the promo code strategy 2023. You definitely should, but now the play is a little bit different. So I think now you're ripping the box, hoping to get, because the boxes are reasonably priced. They're not too expensive. So I think you can get your money back selling things out of that box, even if you don't get a Wembanyama. But if you do, if you do get a Wembanyama redemption, I think you gotta sell it right away. So
yeah, I watched, gosh, I was enamored by it. So I bet you I watched 50 cases get broken over the weekend. I'm not a breaker typically. I think that although it's a lot of fun, I think that there's too much risk in breaking for me to invest my money in it. But I was so enamored at the Wemby chase. At least, I don't know, 40, 50 cases I watched to get broken over the weekend. The other L of the week is Fanatics and Tops and the way that they packaged those cases. Every case, what you want to do if you're going to get into this is watch a case break, especially if they do it box by box. And if there's a Wemby, buy a box from that case, because the cases are so sorted so poorly that there are 2 or 3 in every case. And then you might have a case where there's nothing. So I watched so many times where whatever the player was in that box, like for example, me being a Kentucky fan, Oscar Shibwe, I watched one guy pull 4. He bought a whole, got the Kentucky spot for a whole case. He ended up with 4 Oscar Shibwe autos because there were 4 of them in that case. And I learned that if somebody pulls a Wemby redemption, there's 2 or 3 in that case. So
wow.
the sorting is so terrible by Tops and Fanatic. Whatever gets pulled out of that first couple of boxes sets the tone for the rest of that case. So for Duke, I hope this case that Duke bought was a hot case.
Yeah, that's interesting. So Chad's sports card strategy here is when a new product releases, you can do research on Whatnot and some of the other breaking platforms to find out if there's a pattern. Like, is there a pattern like this? And if there is, and you see one that's coming from a hot case, try to jump in on that break, or jump in on maybe trying to buy a box from that breaker if you can. That's interesting. And it's not going to be the same for every product, right? So it's a thing where you gotta watch each product if you want, or watch the products that you're interested in, see if there's a pattern there. And again, Chad's been doing this for decades, so he's got that pattern recognition. He's got that history. And so thanks for bringing it to the table for the audience here. That's very valuable.
Yeah, you're welcome. I think I texted you and Lefty about some heartbreak. There was a guy that bought a $2,500 spot where he bought the Wembanyama spot in a break, $2,500, and got 0 Wembanyamas. Can you imagine? I mean, I'm sure he knew the risk, but I think he was hoping for a couple, 2, 3, not a 0.
Yeah. So let me ask a question related to that, because I think there's probably a lot of people in the audience that don't know this, and I don't really know this either because I'm not a breaker. Breaking is a part of the hobby that I have a lot of respect for, but I don't know it very well, and I don't personally have a lot of interest in it. In it's not part of my sports card strategy, thus I don't really talk about it a lot. But I think because you and Lefty both are very familiar with breaking in one way or another, we should probably talk about it a little more. So let me ask you, for the audience sake and for my sake, when you're in a break like this Inception product, and you mentioned that it's just in the last segment, you mentioned like somebody bought a Kentucky spot and somebody bought a Wembanyama spot. So like, as you've observed these breaks, how are spots being sold? Like, are they being sold in the same break where you can buy like a team or a school and an individual player? Or are there breaks where the break has to be like all teams, or like and then like you save the players for a separate break? Does that make sense? Like, how are the slots being sold for these breaks?
So the slots are generally sold, at least the ones I watched, which I watched a lot. There was probably 4 different ways. One was people could spend and buy a whole entire case, like a personal rip. Buy a case. Most of the cases were going for, that I saw anyways, most of them were $2,500 to $3,000 a case. And they'd rip them live, and instead of you getting the thrill, you'd watch somebody else rip your cards live, and then they ship you the whole case. That was one way. Another way is you could buy certain teams. So they would have the cost. When they do it by team, it's generally cheaper to get in because it's not a football break or a basketball break, or, there's all different sports. So there were a lot of spots that went unclaimed, which that'll be one of the W's of the week, or when we get to it. But so there's spots that go unclaimed because they sell the big, the big spots, the where the players are. The Ohio State spot's gonna go, the international spot's gonna go, the Kentucky spot, the cards that are going to be big are going to go. And then there's going to be a lot of, no name universities with little guys that are in it. I'm sure there's people collecting those cards, but they just don't bring much. And they start the slots at 99 cents and you bid them up just like you would on eBay, and it's an auction for that spot. Another way is that they can break by player. So you can buy player only spots, like you could buy a Caleb Williams spot, or a Stroud, or a Young, or a Victor. You could buy that spot, and every card that comes out of that case or boxes, however many they're breaking, you get them all. So those tend to be the way that the people spend the most money, because it's very specific, like you're buying the player.
Yeah. So sorry, go ahead.
And then the last way to do it is a random spot. So they could say, like the one that I bought into was a 1-box break. It wasn't a case break. It was just a 1 box. There's 7 cards in the box. So they sold the 7 spots at $25 each. And they put them in a randomizer. And I ended up with spot number 4. So spot number 1 gets the first choice of the box, spot number 2 gets the second choice, and so on. And whoever gets the 7th spot gets the last card left, because the other 6 people get to pick which card they want when they break the case. So those are the 4 different ways that I watched people break this weekend.
All right, so we'll go right into your win of the week, but real quick, I need to comment on this, and I need to say, unless I'm missing something, I think it's probably pretty moronic to buy a $2,500 player spot like Wembanyama when you could buy the whole case for $2,500, because you're like, while it's unlikely that you would get 0 Wembanyamas in a break, it's also far more likely to get at least 1 Wembanyama in an entire case, and you get all of the other cards. Like, I don't understand necessarily what people are thinking sometimes. I maybe I'm missing something. The other side is, like, I could be missing something on this as well, but I believe it's a little bit misleading as a breaker to promote it that way, because you're essentially taking, I'm not saying it's a bad business move. I'm just saying it's a little bit misleading as a business to say, buy this player within this break for this amount of money. Like, it's an insane amount of money for 1 player. Like, knowing that probably the best case scenario is that person maybe gets a couple base cards of that player. Like, that's that's sort of a way for the breaker to just like profit a ridiculous amount off of one player's name, which I guess is the whole point. So I'm not ripping on the breaker for doing that, but I do think it's a little bit misleading to the audience to do it that way. I don't know.
Well, let me. So the $2,500 Victor play was actually a 2-case break.
Okay.
So he paid $2,500 for Victor,
good.
and they broke 2 cases of Inception, and there were 0 Victors in either case.
Okay.
So where he could, and that particular breaker was $3,200 a case. So the guy probably thought he was getting a steal of a deal. It just turned out that it didn't work out that way.
Yeah. And like Boruski's in the comments saying he's never done a break. Are you guys in the same boat? I'd like to try, just a little reluctant. I mean, I think so. I would definitely like ask Chad and Lefty. Like, I think maybe we should do a show. Maybe we should dedicate an episode or do like an extra show one week, like where I kind of moderated and you and Lefty like walk us through the do's and don'ts of getting in a break. But you're probably going to talk about that a little bit in your win of the week. So
I'm going to throw something out live on the air here. I got 2 things for you. First of all, before we forget again, Lefty and I have our challenge for you.
Okay.
Remember the challenge we didn't do last week?
I remember you guys have both kind of hinted at this challenge. So
yes. So it revolves around our good friend Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
So you think Aaron Rodgers is going to stink, and Lefty and I think Aaron Rodgers is going to ball out in New York. So if Lefty and I are right, you have to get a Aaron Rodgers Jet jersey and wear it for an entire episode of Sports Card Strategy.
Okay.
And if he stinks, like you say, you got to come up with something that Lefty and I have to do. So that's our challenge.
Okay. Stay tuned for a future episode of what you guys are going to have to do.
All right.
I love it, first of all. And we need to also define like what
stinking
you and Lefty need to define what stinking is. And we all need to agree on it, right? So let's do that as well. But I love the challenge. I'm excited by it. Hopefully the audience gets into it as well.
And the other idea I had over the weekend, watching all this breaking, and I thought that we might have this type of response in the comments over breaking, with Mr. Lefty McKee being an actual breaker. I'm thinking that wouldn't it be fun to buy a inexpensive box of something, Don Russ NBA hoops, I don't know what it is, and break live on the show so that our audience members can experience what breaking is, and the spots would be free to the whoever's like,
yes,
we would randomize. They log whoever, like right now, whoever's in the comments, you say, hey, I'm here, and we'll break and we'll split up the cards for our audience members.
Let's do that. Coming up with phenomenal ideas right here live on the show, Chad Guell. We're going to do an Aaron Rodgers challenge between the Lefty and Chad versus me. That will happen. And then the show will buy a box or something, or multiple hobby boxes. Maybe we break like a few different hobby boxes. And hey, Duke Dotson, if you're listening, if you want to throw in something for the listeners, no pressure. You've already contributed quite a bit to the premium pack. Graybos has contributed to the premium pack, so I don't want to put Duke on the spot. But if you've got a hobby box laying around, I'll buy from Graybos. And then we'll have it on the show. We'll break that on the show. And that would be awesome. That's a great idea, Chad. So it'll be like educational for the audience, but also the audience members that are in the live stream will get to keep the cards. That's a great call. All right. That right there is a win of the week. But Chad, what is your actual win of the week?
All right. So my win of the week was watching all of these things. I like Ryan, am not a huge breaker because of the risk, but I'm on Whatnot and I see a guy going to do a 1-box break. And he's selling the 7 spots at $25 per. And I've got my loop credit from being a PSA member. You get $100 free loop credit from re-upping your PSA membership. So I've got $100 free loop credit sitting there, and I thought $25, why the heck not, right? So the guy in the break right before me buys a whole entire case for $2,700, and he buys three of the seven cards that are going to be in this. So there were only three people that bought the 7 spots. Me, a guy named Pablo, and this guy named Mike. And Mike buys 4 of the 7 slots. I buy 1, and Pablo buys 2. Mike hits a hot case and ends up with 3 Wemby autos in his case. And he's flying high. He could care less about this 1 box break coming up. So we go into the randomizer, and I get spot number 2. So I'm going to guarantee myself one of the autos. And Mike says to the guy that's doing the breaking, he's like, you know what? I don't even care about this. I'm so excited about my 3 Wembys. He said, give my 3 spots to the other 2 guys that are in this break. And the people watching were like, oh my goodness, this is such a great community, whatever. And so I started feeling festive. So we rolled the dice, and I win the first pick. So I get the first 2 cards in the box. So I'm getting 2 autos out of this box for $25, right? Which is free money because it's not even my money, it's Loop credit. So I said to the guy, then when it comes to me, I also had the 4th pick. I said, you know what? I got the 2 autos. Let the other guy have the 5 cards. And the comments just started to flow like, man, this community, I love this community. It was great. It was kind of a trickle down effect, but I ended up with 2 autos. Neither of them are big namers. I did eBay them. It looks like they sell for about $20 a piece. So I'm gonna profit there. But that was my win of the week, as I got 2 autos because the guy in front of me giving away his spot because he hit 3 Wembys.
That's amazing. Love that. So we got some questions in the audience real quick before I get to my win of the week. First of all, Evan Bell talking about he's done some team breaks on whatnot and never had much luck, but he does a lot of singles auctions. He's basically saying he can get a lot of great singles at 50% of comps in singles rooms. So this is something I've never done, but I definitely need to try to carve out some time in my schedule to spend more time doing this, to get educated the way Chad does and Evan does, and try to make some plays there. And then he says, like, there is a danger of getting addicted though, as he's kind of laughing about it. Chad's waving his hand, I think, so that his light doesn't go off.
One of my coworkers just walked in, so
nice. Love it. Okay. Leslie asks, how do you redeem, actually on behalf of Shoes, who's driving, Leslie asks, how do you redeem the $100 Loop credit, Chad? Is it pretty simple to do?
They do it automatically for you. You have to do a purchase. Once you spend a $10 purchase, then the Loop credit comes off after that. So okay. I had already did a purchase on Loop the night before, which qualified me then for the $100 free credit. So when I did the $25, it just automatically comes off my thing. So I also got the $100. I got $100 Loop credit from something else. So I still got $175 of Loop credit. But it just automatically comes off. You don't have to do anything special for it.
Okay. And how does PSA give it to you? Do they send it to you in an email, or do you have to log into your account?
You have to log in. So you send them. So there's a link. You click on the link. You have to provide them your Loop username, and then they'll send it to you. Then when you log back into Loop, it's there, and then you have to make a $10 qualifying purchase, so that you're spending money on Loop before they're giving you this money. And once you have a purchase on there, then the $100 credit can come off whatever you purchase after that.
Awesome. Glad Shoes asked. So go create a Loop account if you don't already have one, and then you can get that information over to PSA, and they'll give you your credit. So that sounds good. All right. Anything else, Chad, before I go to my win of the week?
No, I can't wait for your win of the week. Let's get to it.
Okay, Chad kind of knows what this is because I've been texting him and Lefty about it all weekend. And for those of you who have listened to the show for the last several months, you will recognize this as well. So the Victor Wembanyama auctions ended this weekend. And let me tell you, best play I've ever made in my entire life. So I auctioned off 12 Victor Wembanyama cards. Sorry, let me adjust that. I purchased 12 Victor Wembanyama cards back in February. Several of them I had to rip out of the magazine myself. If like give or take 8, I had to rip out of the magazines myself, where I bought the actual magazines, ripped them out. Probably 4 cards that I bought raw, and then submitted them all to PSA in a much larger bulk submission. Got the grades back. 3 7s. One of them was a miscut. 2 6s. One of them was a miscut. 3 5s. 2 of them were miscut. And then 4 4s that were all just true 4s. So for those of you who don't know, a miscut is where it's essentially like drastically miscut either top to bottom or left to right, to where like the entire sheet is miscut. So PSA doesn't necessarily dock you a grade for the Sports Illustrated for Kids sheet being miscut, but they do denote it as an MC. So that's what that means. Now, Chad tells me that a miscut typically is like the price of a miscut will go for 2 grades lower than the actual grade. That makes sense. So in other words, like a miscut 6 should go for close to a 4, maybe a 5. I will tell you the overall number here. I was about $700 total into the 12 cards. So that's roughly $70, between $70 and $80 per card, including the grading fee. So all of my auctions ended over the weekend. And I will say that I purposely set it up where the draft lottery night was probably like the 4th or 5th night of the 10-day auction. So it was a 10-day auction, started it on a Wednesday, ended on a Saturday, and purposely did it over the draft lottery. A lot of Wemby hype when the Spurs got the number 1 pick, a lot of photos on social media where he was in a Spurs uniform, photoshopped, obviously, that kind of thing. But $3,000 profit after fees. So take away the $700. I have a $2,300 profit so far on 9 cards. There's still 2 that I'm waiting for the payment on. So that'll be another $500 if and when I get paid for those cards. And I've kept the highest graded best eye appeal cards out of the 12, which is a PSA 7 that to me has the best eye appeal out of all of them. So we are $2,300 profit, still holding 3 cards, Chad.
That is amazing.
By far my best play of all time. And I was texting Lefty about this, and he was just like, I thought my ND play was good. This is a million times better than my ND play. Congratulations. And I got to tell you, it feels so good to know that this stuff is possible. It feels so good to execute a play that you know is going to work. And then for the buyers to pay for the cards right away and actually get the money in your account. Like I highly encourage all of you to study these kinds of plays and try to repeat them in the future. And this show will continue to try to bring you all of that information. I'm not going to hide anything that I'm doing from you. If you go back and you re-listen or rewatch all of the episodes, I documented that I was doing this play on probably 5 or 6 episodes leading up to this win of the week. And I will continue to document it because as good as this play is, Chad, it's not over. I still got 3 cards. So we'll see how the rest of these cards play out. But thank you to all of you in the comments. Really appreciate the support, the positivity. Wishing you all nothing but plays like this in the future. And yeah, pumped about it. Chad, what would you do if you were me with these other 3 cards? I mean, if the other 2 buyers don't pay, I think I'm okay with that at this point. I'm thinking I'd probably consider listing them maybe over the draft, but also like maybe the summer league. Because if Wemby plays in the summer league and lights it up, there could be some serious hype around that.
Yeah, the first time he drops 30 points in a summer league game, it's gonna go crazy. No, congratulations. That is an awesome play. That's legendary status right there.
All right. All right. Well, I'm just trying to be like you in the legendary status. So I'm on my way. And Lefty, and it's great because like, just so you all, I think everybody in the audience like already knows this, but like I was at like it was actually my brother-in-law's 40th birthday party on Saturday night. And I was like socializing, hanging out, having a good time. But I texted Lefty like updates about the play, like as the buyers were paying, like during the party. I'm like, yes, this is great. And so I text Lefty. I'm like, knowing that he wasn't going to be on the show today, I'm like, okay, like here's the profit, here's the thing. And he just goes, nice work, man. On to the next one. And I was just like, that's exactly what's on my mind. Like, this is great, but on to the next one. Like, what do I do next? Like, how do I take this profit? What portion of it do I put into my fund your life category? And then what portion of it do I put into my fund the next play category? So I'll keep you guys all updated on that.
Well, you did just show all the listeners on the way I do it with the fund your PC that you did a play and you ended up with a card for free. That is the goal when you're trying to PC cards. You do a play specifically so that you can have a profit and something for free to stash away into your PC. So great job.
Thanks, man. And Derek Kunzman in the chat says, what a great play on the Wembies. I have since got an SI Kids subscription. Are you making a play on this month's Angel Reese? So for those of you who don't know, Derek, thanks for the question. Great question. For those of you who don't know, Angel Reese, LSU women's national champion from this past year, NCAA tournament just a couple months ago. And she's on the cover along with a UConn player. And Angel Reese's first card is in this month's edition. And I did receive that, and I did look up some of the early comps, and they're selling for $20 raw, just the Angel Reese card, $20 raw. My particular magazine that I got is in great condition, centered. The sheet is well produced, and it's cut like almost perfectly centered, which does not happen often in an SI for kids. So not sure what I'm going to do, Derek. I'm definitely going to make a play on the Angel Reese. But right there, just her card selling for $20, that gives you your subscription back. So I believe Arch Manning, hopefully Bronny James, hopefully maybe Connor Bedard, who knows, we'll all have SI for kids cards in upcoming issues. And then you'll get your Angel Reeses of the world. So hopefully I can make a play on the Angel Reese, but great question there, Derek. Appreciate that. Chad, I feel like you're going to say something.
No, I just trying to think of we need Borusky to give you a nickname. I'm the doctor. You got to be like the SI SI for kids. So sick. Paul is sick. SIK.
Yes. SIK.
Borusky's creative. Come on, Borusky. I need your help here. We got to hang a moniker here on Paul for his SI for kids play. My
goal is that like, not only is the Wemby play is just a micro play within the overall macro of the SI kids. Cause I've been ever since I was like, man, I gotta go out and like buy these magazines for like $100 per magazine to get the Wembanyama card. I'm like, there's gotta be a better way. So the whole like, hey, how about just subscribe to the magazine in the event that there's another one of these coming is much more astute. So Borusky says he's working on it, so he'll come up with something. But I like the sick. I'll take it. So, all right, Chad, who are you buying?
Well, if you're reading the articles, you know who I'm buying. I am buying NFL quarterbacks, and I am getting them graded before I can get rid of them in August. And I am buying them in bulk. The four that I am buying specifically or that I've bought over the weekend are Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and Tua. Those are the four that I bought in bulk over the weekend. Okay, so Chad also has articles at nooffseason.com about all of the details of how to do this. But so go check those out. The most recent one is Justin Herbert. So there's like 15 different Justin Herbert cards that you can profit from right now. So go check that out. And essentially I'm going to just
admit that I'm just following Chad right now. Like everything he's putting out, I believe that he's 100% correct. So I'm not really doing anything differently than what Chad's talking about. So I don't have like a new Wembanyama up my sleeve yet, but I will just give me some time. So, anyway, I got a couple questions for you, Chad. So like,
Yeah.
as I'm doing this, I'm noticing, I'm looking at your articles and I'm like, okay, this is the generally the raw price of say a Herbert, that I would grab. But if within the photo, I can tell that it's either off-centered or has a surface issue, should I just completely avoid that particular card?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
it's very important on eBay especially that they allow you to blow up the cards with that little magnifier in the pictures to
Yeah.
look that card over. Don't buy anything that looks off centered. Don't buy anything that looks like it has a print mark or a print line or a little pock mark or anything like that. Buy the ones that you would buy if you're at a card show and you're thinking, yeah, this might 10. Do the
Yeah.
best you can with the pictures to pick out 10s. You
Yeah.
I mean, the whole idea behind this is that you're going to get 9s and 10s. You're going to get a handful of 9s, but you're going to get enough 10s to make it work. And my goal when I do this is, my goal is I want to try and double my investment and end up with a card for free in my portfolio. I've been doing this for years, so read the articles, and if you got questions, let us know. But it is my goal always to double my money. I don't like. I mean, you've always said $20 is $20, and a play is a play, and a profit's a profit. Uh, I value my time more than that. If I can't double my money, I don't want to do it.
Yeah. And I'm trying to learn that from you and be very disciplined with what I pull the trigger on. I think sometimes I get excited about finding a card for a price to make these plays, but then you have to be patient around like, would this card even grade, and is it listed on eBay because the person doesn't want to grade it, kind of a thing. So there's a lot of that going on. And so I think Chad's right on the money with that in terms of just making sure that you're being picky about what you're buying. And, he also likes to buy lots of cards. So last question on this topic before we go to who you're selling, Chad. But, like, outside of eBay, I mean, when you're putting together these plays, like, I assume you're not just looking at eBay, correct? Like, what portion of these raw cards are you buying on eBay, and then what portion of these raw cards that you talk about in the articles? There's the light.
There's a lot.
Are you buying on other platforms?
Um, if you can go to shows are for sure the best way to buy because you can get the best deals at a show. I am buying on many platforms. I buy on ComC, I buy on Whatnot, I buy on My Slabs, which has more than just slab cards. Now they actually have singles on there. I buy a fair amount on Whatnot. The issue with Whatnot is if you buy from Whatnot, the odds of getting 10s are pretty low because most of the people on Whatnot are getting rid of their stuff in bulk because it's the 8s and the 9s that they couldn't sell anywhere else. So typically what I get on Whatnot, very rare do I get a 10 on a Whatnot. But eBay, I get a lot of 10s off of eBay by looking at pictures. ComC is really good at getting, they no longer grade them. They used to grade them A's and B's on ComC. They don't do that anymore. But that's a way to get them. Buying them in person, going to the local card shop. My local card shop guy here in town knows what I'm looking for. He can call you and say, hey, reach out to Duke. I'm sure Duke could help you, hook you up with some at
Yeah.
Graybo's.
Yeah. Duke at Graybo's, Chase Krim and Cody Krim at Texas Roadshow. Those guys, another great card shop to check out. So yeah, that's a good call. All right. So along the same lines, Keith Riordan, he's a premium member. So we're going to stop everything and take his question. But this is right what we're talking about. When buying these cards raw on eBay, aren't there concerns that these raw cards have been graded and then the person didn't get a 9 or 10, crack the card and sell it on eBay?
Yes. So One of the tricks of doing what I do, I'm going to drop some knowledge here for the guys. Look at, before you bid on the card, click on the seller's other content. If the seller, you want to look and see what the majority of the cards are that he's selling. If the majority of the cards that he's selling are ungraded, you're probably okay. If the majority of his cards are all graded cards, but he's got like a handful of ungraded cards, then chances are he's already tried to grade it, he cracked it, and he's just trying to sell it raw. But if my general rule of thumb is if 3/4 of the cards that the guy's selling are raw, chances are the guy's legit. I have never graded a card, cracked it, and sold it as raw on my eBay store. I won't do that. If I get a 6 and it's a 6, I'll sell it as a 6 on my eBay store. But if you look on my eBay store, 90% of what I have is ungraded. I've got maybe 10% is graded. But if I get a card graded, I sell it as graded, regardless of what the slab is, because that's pretty deceitful. And I'm not in this, I'm in this to promote the hobby, not to destroy it. But there are people out there that, Keith, are shysters like that. So a real good trick to avoid that is look and see what the seller is selling. And if the majority of his cards are graded, stay away from that buyer for a raw card.
Love it. Great question, Keith. And appreciate the answer there, Chad. Boom Hall breaks in the house. Good to see you. All right. So we're going to move a little quicker into who we're selling. But real quick, breaking news. My nickname for SI for kids, there's a few things going on in the chat here. Paul Hickey SI.
Love it.
Came in. Love it. Then Sicky Paul Hickey from Southern Soccer Idiot. So that would be SIKY. Sicky Paul Hickey. Love that. Rocky Empire. What about Paul the Editor? Solid. All right. Cool. Good stuff. And then not a nickname, but Bareski says Paul Hickey's Great SI for Kids Caper of 2023. The Great Wemby Caper. I love it, guys. Love all of you. All right. We'll keep rolling along here. So, Chad, who are you selling?
Lakers and Celtics.
Yes.
I've got just posted my my silver Tatums and Browns. Just posted my two LeBrons and my 280 rookies. They've already dropped a little bit with the first 3 games of the series, but I'm going to try and sell before they drop too far, and I will look to buy them back this fall.
Love it. And I'm thinking the same thing in terms of also the Heat and the Nuggets. I think I just don't know that I would hold anybody on the Heat or the Nuggets. I know Shoes is probably screaming right now about the Joker, but and that's fine if you want to hold the Joker for some sort of crescendo in the NBA Finals. That's cool. But I don't know. I think I'd probably liquidate my Jamal Murrays and anything else close to those names in the Final Four here as we're getting to the NBA Finals. I think if you bought Jamal Murray over the last couple of years due to his injury, I mean, he was a guy that I was talking about buying a couple years ago with his injury. And so if you did that and you've been like sort of waiting, like now just this is what you bought him for. So now I think is the time to go ahead and sell him. And I don't think you want to wait to see what happens in the NBA Finals. But Chad,
no, don't wait till the finals is over to sell them. I think there's a good shot at this point they're going to win the whole thing. The point I will be listing all of, and I did that in major bulk with Jamal Murray. I've got a sick Jamal Murray collection of PSA 10s. They will all be going up for sale this weekend. You want to wait until right at the beginning of the series and sell before it looks like one or the other team is going to win, because that'll be it when the cards are at their highest point.
Cool. So we got some great audience Q&A coming up. Stay tuned for that. Real quick, I went a little bit different direction than I normally do in terms of who I'm selling. I don't actually own any of this person's cards, but this is who I would sell if I were you. And I would also look at my PC or your PC and determine if you have anyone else who falls into this particular category and start to list them for sale. I know a lot of people fall asleep at the wheel with who they meant to sell because life happens and you're doing a bunch of other stuff. But I think if you're in this to get some profit and you're not PCing a bunch of baseball players right now, I think you do need to be kind of heads up in terms of what's happening with a lot of the pricing, especially of cards like this. So Eloy Jimenez, his 2019 Topps base PSA 10s. I just looked at market movers just to see who am I going to talk about selling this week. And this guy's base PSA 10, this is a pop 9,000 card, and it's up 300% over the last 30 days. So there's been multiple sales in the $22 and stuff. So this is not like a huge sell him to make a profit situation, but this is like a get out from under these types of cards scenario. He's hopefully coming back from an emergency appendectomy. Not sure how relevant he's been, kind of a thing. There's a lot of most players fit this category, and we don't really talk about it that much, but I think you need to look at your PSA 10s, base cards like this of guys that haven't done anything for a while. He's one guy who you could sell, to try to get the most out of right now. And I don't know. That's my sell of the week. So courtesy of market movers. Chad, anything to add to that?
No, you're spot on.
Okay, cool. Scott Lawrence in the house. Good to see you. Good morning to you as well. All right. Moving along to the audience Q&A. So first audience question update comes from Lonnie Conley, good friend of the show, made a couple great submissions to the Sports Card Strategy Show and Tell. Chad touched on a really good topic this week in regards to Bowman Chrome First. My bread and butter for years has been accumulating Chrome First and grading and flipping for a 50 to 85% profit. He says, for example, buy a lot of Junior Caminero First for about $4 each and grade at $16 because that's the 2022-23 special, a few dollars less for those years. Then sell for $55 later, but that top price now is coming down to $35, and a 9 is basically a loss. This is where selling at shows is helpful by removing the final value fees, and it also has me contemplating moving to Instagram and using PayPal. Would be interested to hear more from the team on this because this has been a staple forever and now caught up in this soft market. Could also be good content producing topic because there is a decade of data on Bowman Chrome First sales relative to grading costs. Last note is that QA is bad on the retail Bowman release for 2023. I have been unsuccessful in finding 20 plus cards to grade. All of my Spencer Jones are OC off center from left to right. My colors are off center from top to bottom. The base Chrome Bowman autos have been clean, but I need those other two as well to make the churn work. I figure this is right up Chad and Lefty's alley, all of this. So I think it's a great contribution from Lonnie. Anything to add to this one, Chad?
No, he is touching right on the point. I have not tried to grade or ripped any 2023 Bowman yet. I did buy into a break just to support Lefty a couple weeks ago, and I got my Philadelphia Phillies, which was my team that I got in the break in the mail here last week. But no, that's why you have to do it ahead of time, where he's talking that the cards are softening. That's also why Lefty and I, you'll hear us say, don't focus on the 2023s. Yes, the grading price is $2, $3 cheaper. So it's really tempting, but that's where you're going to, it's 50 today or 55 today. And by the time you get your cards back in 60 days, it's $25. And now you just maybe lost money on your 9s. Focus on a year or two old. That's why the articles that you're seeing me write are mostly 2020 and 2021. I have not had any 2022 or 2023 bulk plays yet, and you won't see that because they're too risky.
Yeah, and the Herberts, Tuas, Burrows, the market is completely settled now. So you don't see a lot of price fluctuation one way or another. Hopefully we see the price go up when the season starts for football. But as it relates to what Lonnie's saying, I mean, I saw a similar thing when looking for my Spencer Joneses. Just a lot of stuff that I knew wouldn't grade well, so I avoided it. I think I might have got 2 that could get a 10, but I'm just combining those in a bulk submission with stuff from other years. So I'm just paying. I'd rather pay the extra $3 than try to buy a bunch of 2023 and 2022 stuff just to, like, for the reasons you're talking about. So
yeah, I won't be chasing Spencer Jones for a year or 2 yet.
Yep. All right. So premium member question. Anyone who is a premium member at nooffseason.com is guaranteed to get their question answered on a show. So keep that in mind. Scott Fuquay was going to the Dallas Card Show this weekend. Man, I wish I could have gone. I already answered Scott's question to him because I knew he needed my answer before he went to the show. But basically, he's talking about recently he's been focusing on Volpe, Jordan Walker, Ohtani, and Hurts for a lot of the same reasons that we've talked about on the show, kind of listening to us. He's mixed in some Burrow. Trevor Lawrence seems to be already a higher investment, so while he likes him, he's kind of avoided that. He's asking me essentially about, and he does mention Ohtani Japanese cards, which Lefty and I have talked about as well. We like those. He says, how about Tyrese Maxey? Do you think he could be an all-star caliber player on the same team as Embiid? And if they bring Harden back? On the fence. So basically Scott's thing is he wants to go to the Dallas Card Show. I know this is already in the past, but we can answer it, for future card show strategies here. He wanted to basically spend $2,000 at a card show. He says, thanks for everything. Keep up the great work. But he's like, how do I spend $2,000 at a card show? He's talking about also in here, not knowledgeable about hockey, but like interested in buying hockey, that kind of a thing. So, basically, I came back to Scott and I essentially said the following things. Something along the lines of, don't necessarily, like, it's great that you have a $2,000 budget, but use it as a budget. Don't go into the card show needing to spend $2,000 because then you're going to end up making purchases just to make purchases and they might not be the right purchases, right? But the other things I said is like focus on what you know. So if you know football the best, which it sounds like he does, and maybe a little bit of basketball, but not hockey, go harder into those football plays. A, because it's the time to buy football cards anyway. And B, because, and I did kind of respond, I don't know, like I know that Chad talked about Jordan Walker and Anthony Volpe a few weeks ago, but things move so fast with these kinds of plays. I don't know that it's still necessarily time to buy those guys. So I actually came back to Scott and said, avoid hockey, avoid Volpe and Walker, go harder into the football plays that we've been talking about more recently. And also, and Lonnie said this a lot, and a lot of other people have said this to me a lot, and I've experienced it. And there's a lot of great content out there about it. When you're at a card show, find vendors who have a lot of cards that you might want to buy. Pick out a ton of cards from that particular vendor. Ask them how much an entire stack of cards is. Negotiate a little bit on that stack of cards to bring the price of that stack down. Then continue to then say, thanks. I think I'm going to go ahead and probably move forward with something like this, but I want to keep looking at your stuff. I'm going to look in your showcase. I'm going to continue to look in your value boxes. So let's keep this here, but I'm going to keep looking at your stuff. So now you've got already a discount in the stacks, and you're able to look at the cards to see whether or not you think they'll grade well. Then ask for like one or two more cards out of the showcase and get more of a deal because you've added those cards, right? This is what vendors expect this, right? And I don't think everybody going to shows, especially if you're new going to shows and you're used to buying online, I think the culture is actually opposite online. I think a lot of times people are like, no, like they'll turn down your offer online on eBay. They'll have like on an or best offer situation, they'll have like an offer that'll auto decline if it's not at a certain price. Card shows are the opposite. You need to go in and you need to be like, how about adding in this card to the stack? Would you do that? Like do those kinds of strategies at the card show. And then I think if you end up finding something that you can spend your $2,000 on in that way, where you essentially buy $5,000 or $4,000 worth of cards for $2,000. That's what I think you do at a card show. So we'll get to the maxi part of the question and maybe the hockey part of the question here in a second. But Chad, what do you think of the overall card show strategy like that?
Well, I think everything that you said was good advice. My advice would have been, and it's with the articles that I'm writing, you want to, if you're going to do baseball right now, you want to do the prospects that are in the minor leagues, or you want to do somebody that started out struggling. The Volpe play is still live and real because he started out of the gate slow and his cards have dipped. And if he gets it going by the All-Star break, which is when you get your cards back, there's money to be made there. Jordan Walker got sent back down to the minors, so when he comes back and gets it going, there's a play to be made there. So you got to look at prospects this time of year in baseball, or vintage if you can get a deal on a vintage card, maybe a crack and resubmit type play at a card show. Always make sure when you're at the card shows that you're telling them that you got cash in hand, because a lot of the vendors will take credit cards, but it costs them 3.5%. So they're more likely to give you a deal with cash in hand. But my advice would be this time of year right now, it's football. I'm so laser focused, and I feel like the window is closing fast. I probably won't buy much football past the first week of June, because they got to get to PSA and get back in order for me to list them in August. So that window is closing rapidly. Hockey, that you're the wrong time of year for hockey right now. Your best hockey plays are probably going to be in July. So that would be my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's right. So, Scott, hopefully that helps. Walker, Volpe, Chad still thinks there's time for that, so that's good. I think that the only other thing I'll add before we get to the maxi part of the question is, like, keep open-minded about what deals are there. So, for example, when I was at the Mint Collective, the card show portion of it, which was great, I never would buy. I would never go in looking for a Derek Jeter Upper Deck rookie card from like 1992. But those go in PSA 10 consistently for $100. And I was able to basically get one thrown in to where, like, it brought the average price of everything I was buying down. And if the other three cards that I bought in that deal were equal to recent comps, then the Jeter was $50 and it sells for $100. So let's just say I got a Jeter PSA 10 1992 Upper Deck, like it's called like the minor league rookie or something like that. I got that for $50 and it goes for $100. So, but I only did that because I knew I don't have to do anything with this card other than list it on my eBay store and I make a profit. So I think that's the other thing that I love about a card show is, like, especially if you're going, like, $2,000 is a healthy budget in my opinion for a card show, which is awesome. So you need to be not necessarily focused on going and trying to buy a maxi or a Volpe or a Walker. You need to know which ones to buy, but you also need to be open-minded about looking up comps for other cards that you can sell, particularly for a profit. So in terms of maxi, like, I still love maxi, but I think that, like, he's at a weird point in the hobby where hobbyists know and love him. And so his pricing reflects someone who's already an all-star, but he's not yet. And so he's not necessarily, like, as much as I love maxi, I don't know that I would go out and buy a bunch of maxis right now, especially because it's football card buying season. I would put that money into football. I would look to buy maxi maybe in like December, when, like, you can judge how well of a season he might have and everything's down. All the basketball cards are down in December. And then you've got the All-Star break, you've got the playoffs and other things happening closer to when you would be buying him in December. So I think, like, buying maxi right now isn't the right move, but unless you can get just a ridiculous deal on it. But do I think he can be an all-star? Absolutely. Like, I think he could absolutely be an all-star. Darius Garland was an all-star. LaMelo Ball was an all-star. Like, other players of similar sort of ilk to Tyrese Maxey have been all-stars. The other thing you have to take into consideration here with this question is that you're going to end up having like 50% more all-stars than are allotted on an all-star roster because of injuries and people who just don't want to play in the game. So even if McKee next year isn't named to the all-star team, Anthony Edwards was not named to the all-star team in the Western Conference, but sure enough, there he is in the game because you've got several players who are injured and can't play in the game. So I think that like you have to think about it like that, where I do think McKee will be an all-star. Anything to add there, Chad?
No, Maxey's the only investable Sixer there is right now. I wouldn't touch Embiid or Harden with a 10-foot pole. And Maxey, I'm looking to buy more Maxey. I bought tons of it this year, but it'll be the end of August into early September, and then the 2 weeks leading up to Christmas, they seem to always drop in December. So that's your buying window there.
All right, Shoes, we'll try to get to your question. I just saw it in the chat, so we'll try to get to it, but we got more to get through here. So Ken Melton emailed me, great guy, what to do with this collection. So we're going to have to go through this one pretty quickly. Like his story is that he would save his money as a kid shoveling snow and mowing lawns, bring it in when he was going to visit his uncle. So then he would kind of collect with his uncle. He's got cards, he's got baseballs, baseball bats, cereal boxes, a bunch of other stuff. I'm going to throw up some photos here. We're not going to be able to necessarily dissect all of this, but there's like Ted Williams, multiple Mickey Mantles, photos, balls, Brooks Robinson autograph photo, Steve Garvey autograph photo, Doc Gooden rookie, Steve Carlton rookie, a bunch of balls, Joe DiMaggio, Stan Musial, Johnny Mize, Whitey Ford. Can't read Brooks Robinson, can't read the others. A lot of Cal Ripken. I think probably Brooks Robinson autos, perhaps more Whitey Ford. Chad, you might know these are small photos, but you might know more about whose cards these are in this shot here. Then of course, okay, a lot of Cal Ripken rookies, inserts from sets like Don Russ. Not sure on the card collection. The question is like, what would you do with this? Chad, why don't you go first, and then I'll see if I have anything else to add.
Well, it depends on the time frame that you're looking to get rid of it and how much work and effort you want to put into it. If you're looking to get rid of it fast, a guy like John Ziens from Cardboard Kids, who might be getting a show here in the near future, I could get you his information. He's fantastic for buying complete collections and treating you very well price-wise. Or an auction house if you wanted to. However, they usually take anywhere from 25 to 35% off the top, but you do get top dollar. We're going to an auction house, especially if they're, those are some pretty big names of some Hall of Famers. So you've got some pretty valuable stuff there. Or if you had the time to list it and piece it out yourself, selling it as a collection, you'll get a little bit less, but it saves you time. One by one, if you don't have authentication on any of those items, that's going to greatly, drastically reduce the amount of money that you'll get for it. So I would spend the $20 a piece and send them to a company like JSA and get the autographs certified, or to Beckett and get the autographs certified, because it will double, triple, maybe quadruple what the value of the item is.
Absolutely. And those certificates, I believe, add to just the presentation value that you could add to taking good photos. I think like everything Chad said, spot on. I would say like, I would just add professional photos of these. Like, I mean, not that you would have to go pay a professional photographer to do it, but if you have a family member who's good at setting up photos and taking photos with their iPhone, like their latest iPhone camera or something like that, maybe with some good lighting, I would invest time, not necessarily money in that, but time in good photos. If you're looking to list them online in any way, shape or form, even if you're just going to like post photos on a Facebook group or something like that. I think that actually goes a long way, because like I could see Carl Yastrzemski, Whitey Ford, like, but I don't know, like I can't just see a photo with and I think like taking the time to say like, this is a blah, blah, blah photo signed by this, like a good description signed by this person in this year or whatever along with, but I would not sell any of the autos without authentication. I think the authentication thing that's the first place I would go with the autos, is to get them authenticated, because they're so vintage and classic names. Like you really can afford, I think, the time spent to make the value go up through the authentication and the imagery and the descriptions. And then that's kind of what an auction house would do. Like an auction house would do all of those things to increase the value of your cards, but they're things that you could do. And then if you don't want to do them, to Chad's point, you could sell them to somebody like John or somebody else who's looking. I'm sure there's listeners who will email Paul at nooffseason.com if you're interested in making Ken an offer on his collection, and we'll hook you guys up. So we'll see, but good stuff. All right, we're moving along quickly here. So this is Shoes. Has this ever happened to you? He says, when the letter carrier arrived today, this is somebody messaging him, I believe, on a card that he sold. So he looks like Shoes sold a Wayne Gretzky 1998 team checklist, and the buyer came back and said, when the letter carrier arrived today, I had to pay $3.79 to receive the item, or else the letter carrier would have taken the item back with him. So if I'm getting this correct, I believe Shoes needs to know, has this ever happened to you, and what to do about this type of situation?
Yes, pay the $3.79 or send the card back. That's really your only two options. But that is when you hear me talking about the non-machinable. That's a thicker card, and because it's non-machinable, if you don't have $1 worth of postage, they will charge you for standard postage, which is usually anywhere from $3.79 to $4.25. It happens 8-10 times a year where somebody will ship me something, and I usually reach out to the buyer or to the seller and say, hey, I'll take a picture of it like Shoes did and say, hey, just so you're aware, this is what happened. Are you willing to reimburse me? I've never had anybody not reimburse me. Sometimes if it's a cheap card, they'll just cancel the transaction. You get a full refund and you get to keep the card for the postage.
Okay, so in this case, I think it looks like Shoes is the seller. So how would he reimburse the buyer?
Well, it depends on, if more than likely it was through eBay or
it was through eBay.
Yeah, through eBay, you just go into the transaction and you click refund buyer $3.79. Hopefully.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's easy to do.
It's really easy to do. However, if say the card, maybe he sold the card for $1 or $2.
Mm-hmm.
Then what I would do, because it's cheaper, is I would just cancel the transaction and send a refund for the full amount if it's $2.20 or whatever, and just tell the buyer, hey, I'll refund you the full amount, and sorry that happened, and they get to keep the card for the postage.
Yeah, and Shoes, like this sucks because you're probably hoping to profit a little bit, but it sounds like you might have to do the latter on this, but this is how it goes. I mean, this is like being, I think, dollar smart, in the long run, because you're going to get, this goodwill will pay off in the long run. And it's all about getting the reps in. This is like batting. Like, honestly, like selling a card like this is kind of like taking BP. You're taking batting practice for when you get the big at bat later on. And I mean, hopefully you sold this card for like $15 and you can go in and refund the buyer $3.79 off the transaction. So that's good advice. He says, I got the guy's PayPal and plan to pay him back. Thanks for the advice. Okay, cool. Seems like Shoes just needed some validation that this happens, and there you go. So, all right, premium member question from Irvin Ramirez. I have an SGC 95 Micah Parsons 2022 Panini Absolute Explosive number E33. I need advice on whether to post it for buy it now or put it up for auction on eBay. And is it the best time to post due to the fact that the NFL is still a ways away anyway? The reason I'm trying to do some of the plays you guys are advising, I'm trying to do a 10 to 20 card PSA submission depending on the player and the price. Please advise and thank you. Okay, so thanks for the question, Irvin. Love that you joined the website. Hopefully it's paying off for you, reading all of the content on how to make money flipping sports cards. This explosive raw has sold a couple times in the last couple of months for $120 to $125. That tells me that your SGC 9.5 would probably sell for that amount. Couldn't find any comps on an SGC 9.5. To me, Chad, I just list this at the start of the NFL season, but what do you do here?
Well, it depends on if he's trying to flip that into doing one of those 10 to 20 card plays that we talked about.
Yeah.
If he's trying to do that, I would sell it right away because you'll make more money on one of those plays than you will on this individual card. So you just list it and take whatever you can and reinvest it into one of those plays. However, if you are willing to wait, you might get an extra 10 to 20% by waiting into August when football starts to get hot. These are relatively hot right now because the 2022 absolutes didn't come out too long ago. So anytime a new product comes out, they stay hot for a while and then they start to tail off. So if this card is mine, I list it and I get what I can right now. I don't wait till August because my fear is the more of these that hit the market, the offsetting of the prices for football going up into August might offset the decrease of the more supply hitting the market. So I take my money right now and run.
Okay, great stuff. Hopefully that helps, Urban. All right, up next, Mark Samaja, another premium member. Thanks for the question. So I think I might have, what happened here, Paul? What happened to the question? The question from Mark is regarding cards that he bought, F1 cards that he bought, and I'm going to have to remember the question. So he bought, here's what it is. I just put the photos in here and not the actual question. Sorry, everybody. He bought a 2021 Topps Lights Out Formula One box for $90. It looks like it's selling for, not many of them are selling, but looks like it's selling for around 98 to 100. So I think you did well there. I think his question is like what to do with it. So here's the thing. Like, this is not a release that I would recommend going after at all. This is just not investable. So the only singles in PSA 10 that are selling for anything over like $20 are the serial numbered singles of the top drivers like Lewis Hamilton. And you would have to get a PSA 10. So I think Mark's question was around like, do I rip and grade? What do I do with this box kind of a thing? Definitely don't rip and grade. I would probably like just sell this sealed again. I don't know, maybe hold it until there's some action at the end of the F1 season and then sell it sealed again, or sell it sealed at the beginning of next F1 season. But honestly, you're probably just going to get back what you put into this one. It's just not really an investable situation. So now the other thing that Mark did was he bought a couple of boxes of 2021 Topps Chrome Sapphire F1 sealed. I think he said he bought 2 boxes and got them for around, because he bought 2 at the same time, got them for around $300 to $350 a box. So the question here is, what do you do with those? Now you're in a situation where you've got a little bit more of an investable hobby box. Like, those are going for higher than what you paid for them. Now, granted, with the eBay fees, it's probably about a break even. So I think for those, you can keep those sealed, even though it's the second year, not the first year. I think you can keep those sealed. And because it's like limited edition Sapphire, keep them sealed for the next few years as an investment. And I think you're probably in good shape. Chad, are you hip to any of the F1 stuff? Anything you want to comment on for these?
No, I am, but I think you are spot on with your advice to him.
Okay. So other part of Mark's question is he got the 2020 Topps Chrome Refractor PSA 9 of George Russell for $90. The recent comps on that are over 100. So good work there. I think that's probably like a PSA not like, there's nothing about this card to like hold it though. So like this is probably a sell for me around some Russell hype at some point in time. So whenever there's some Russell hype, I would list it. The other thing he did was he got the Max 2020 Chrome Refractor, base refractor raw for $240. And so his question is, does he grade this? I went through what, Chad's process. So the pop report at PSA. Now, while this set is notoriously hard to grade because of some production issues that have been documented.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah.
I hate to have to run, but my sales meeting is starting and everybody's motioning me to get up there.
Get out of there. Get out of there, Chad.
Thanks, guys, for a great show. I'll see you next week.
Good work, man. Talk to you later.
Right.
Great stuff by the sports card, Dr. Chad Guell. I'm going to take us home here. Used Chad's method. This card grades at almost a 50% gem rate, actually. I mean, in the 40%, 210 out of 460, 177 out of 460 for the PSA 9. You're in a situation, Mark, where if you go 240 in, this card can sell raw for about the same. You're spot on there. In PSA 10, 816. In PSA 9, 265. So you get your money back. And in PSA 8, 204. So even if it comes back an 8, which it's not likely to, you're in a good spot. So I would grade that Max. I would sell those other boxes sealed, but I would keep the Sapphire ones longer to see what happens. And I would probably sell the George sooner rather than later on some Russell hype. Up next, Trey Kegley, another premium member question. Recently bought an Aaron Zavala gold auto out of 50. Received a PSA 1010 and pop 1. Should I list it now with a high asking buy it now price, or should I just wait till he hopefully gets called up? Also have a completed set of a 2021 press proof mask edition. This is Don Russ Football PSA 10 set, which is pretty cool. I'll get to that in a second. I feel these could potentially be sought after in the future, but I'm not sure how to even list a set in full and gain traction. On the Zavala, the only two comps I could find of this card were in PSA 9, and they sold for $211 and $128. The answer here is wait till he gets called up. Wait till he gets called up. That maximizes the potential value you could get out of it, Trey. Good work on that. And then on the mask, what this is these are the 2021 Don Russ. There's elite quarterbacks like Mahomes, Burrow, and Josh Allen, and there's others where they're wearing the mask during the COVID season of 2020, and these do actually sell. So, but in PSA 10, the Josh Allen sells for $41, and then I couldn't find comps of any PSA 10, so they must be pretty low pop of Burrow and Mahomes. But the PSA 9s sell for between $20 and $30. So I think, Trey, what you do with the Zavala is you hold it until he gets called up. What you do with the mask set is you hold them and try to shop them around in Facebook groups where people sort of value these rare low pop cards. A great person to go to would be Football Card Quest, Andy Kaysen. He sees the value in these cards, and in his community, the Football Card Quest community, in their Discord, you might be able to sell these in that community for the maximum if you're looking to sell them now. And Andy can probably help you price them, but I would probably price them at about, I don't know how many are in the set. I would price them at probably $100 each to start. If you were going to look to do them buy it now, I'd maybe sell them individually on eBay for a buy it now of $100 each. List them around football season if you don't want further help. If you want further help, I would go into Facebook groups, football card Facebook groups, and do some research in those Facebook groups around people looking for these particular cards. You could always, just put feelers out in those groups, and then check out Football Card Quest, Andy's Discord Patreon group, to get in that and see if maybe you can sell them there. That's my advice. All right, we got one more question in the audience. We almost got through all of it before Chad had to leave, but Shoes had a question. trying to get a raw Geno Smith auto, and it's up to $25. It's a score rookie card. So not sure to go past 25. Yeah, 2013 score rookie on-card auto could be a great find for $25. I wouldn't go much past that, those shoes. Keep us posted on how you do with that one. Everybody, thanks so much for watching and listening to the Sports Card Strategy Show. Don't forget to check out nooffseason.com and go premium on a free 30-day trial if you haven't already. More great premium content coming. I'm going to be dropping some premium pods, everybody. So premium pods coming up in the next couple of weeks. You'll get Lefty and Chad without me on Monday, but everybody, I will be there on Thursday for the Sports Card Strategy Show and Tell. Don't forget to get your submissions in to paul@nooffseason.com. Everybody, thanks so much for watching and listening. Have a great day. And let's cue that rock music.